Alien inspection. The sleek, silver spacecraft descended through Earth's atmosphere, slicing through clouds as it approached the planet's surface. Inside, a delegation of aliens from the Galactic Federation prepared to embark on a critical mission, assessing humanity's readiness to join their interstellar alliance. As the ship touched down on a grassy field outside a major Earth city, the aliens emerged, their lithe, blue-skinned forms shimmering under the sun. Leading the group was Xyloth, a tall, angular alien with piercing violet eyes. He gazed at the city skyline in the distance, feeling a mix of curiosity and trepidation. Over the next few days, the alien delegation toured Earth's cities, meeting with world leaders and observing human society. They marveled at humanity's technological achievements, from towering skyscrapers to advanced transportation systems. Xyloth found himself particularly fascinated by human culture, their art, music, and diversity of traditions. As the aliens walked through the bustling streets, humans stopped to stare and whisper, amazed by the extraterrestrial visitors. Children pointed excitedly, while adults snapped photos on their smartphones. Xyloth couldn't help but feel a growing fondness for these curious, energetic beings. One afternoon, the delegation visited a museum showcasing Earth's history. Xyloth lingered by an exhibit on ancient civilizations, intrigued by the artifacts and faded murals. A human guide approached him, smiling warmly. "Remarkable, isn't it?" she said. "The story of our species, from early tribes to a planet-spanning civilization." Xyloth nodded slowly. "Your people have come far," he acknowledged. "But there is still much for you to learn, and much for us to understand about you." The guide's smile widened. "That's why we're so excited about joining the Galactic Federation. To learn from other species, to expand our knowledge and perspectives." Xyloth felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps humanity was indeed ready to take this next great step. That evening, as the delegation gathered to discuss their observations, Xyloth shared his thoughts. "The humans are a young species, but a promising one," he said. "Their curiosity and drive to explore rival our own." Some of his colleagues looked uncertain. "They are still primitive in many ways," one argued. "They have much maturing to do before they can stand alongside us as equals." Xyloth frowned but held his tongue. Only time would reveal humanity's true potential and their worthiness to join the stars. Little did Xyloth know that a fateful encounter the following day would reshape his view of Earth and its inhabitants forever. For hidden amid the bustle of human cities lay a secret that would test the bonds between worlds and reveal the true depths of the human spirit. Xyloth nodded slowly. "Your people have come far," he acknowledged. "But there is still much for you to learn, and much for us to understand about you." The guide's smile widened. "That's why we're so excited about joining the Galactic Federation. To learn from other species, to expand our knowledge and perspectives." Xyloth felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps humanity was indeed ready to take this next great step. That evening, as the delegation gathered to discuss their observations, Xyloth shared his thoughts. "The humans are a young species, but a promising one," he said. "Their curiosity and drive to explore rival our own." Some of his colleagues looked uncertain. "They are still primitive in many ways," one argued. "They have much maturing to do before they can stand alongside us as equals." Xyloth frowned but held his tongue. Only time would reveal humanity's true potential and their worthiness to join the stars. Little did Xyloth know that a fateful encounter the following day would reshape his view of Earth and its inhabitants forever. For hidden amid the bustle of human cities lay a secret that would test the bonds between worlds and reveal the true depths of the human spirit. Part 2. The Monster Appears. The next morning, the alien delegation visited a suburban Earth neighborhood, hoping to observe humans in a more relaxed domestic setting. They strolled past neatly manicured lawns and colorful flower beds, watching as children played on the sidewalks and adults tended to their gardens. Xyloth found the scene charming and peaceful, a stark contrast to the frenetic energy of the cities. He was about to comment on this to his colleagues when a sudden commotion shattered the tranquil atmosphere. A large, furry creature came bounding down the street, heading straight for the aliens. It was a dog, a golden retriever, but to the startled extraterrestrials, it looked like a monster. The dog's powerful muscles rippled beneath its gleaming coat as it galloped toward them, its mouth open wide to reveal sharp, glistening teeth. The aliens panicked. Some screamed and scrambled backward, while others reached for their energy weapons. Xyloth, however, stood his ground, studying the creature with a mix of fear and fascination. As the dog drew closer, Xyloth noticed something odd. Despite its intimidating appearance, the animal's body language seemed non-threatening. Its tail wagged enthusiastically, and its eyes shone with a playful light. Realization dawned on Xyloth. This was no monster, but a domesticated earth animal. He turned to his colleagues, trying to calm them. "Wait," he called out. "It's not attacking. I think it's friendly." But his words were drowned out by the chaos. One of the aliens, a hot-headed commander named Crix, raised his weapon and took aim at the dog. Xyloth leaped forward, knocking the gun from Crix's hand, just as a family came running out of a nearby house, shouting and waving their arms. "Max, stop. Come back here," a man yelled, clearly the dog's owner. The dog, hearing its name, skidded to a halt a few feet from the aliens. It cocked its head, panting happily as if expecting praise for its mischief. Crix snarled at Xyloth. "That beast could have killed us all. We should eliminate it now before it has a chance to strike again." Xyloth shook his head firmly. "No. Look closer. It meant no harm. This is clearly a pet, not a threat." The other aliens glanced uncertainly between Max and the approaching human family. The man reached the dog's side and clipped a leash to its collar, looking apologetic. "I'm so sorry about that," he said to the aliens. "Max just loves meeting new people. He didn't mean to scare you." Crix glared at the man. "You allow vicious predators to roam freely among your people. What kind of backward civilization is this?" The man blinked, taken aback. "Vicious predator? No. Max is a sweetheart. Dogs are loyal companions, not monsters." Xyloth stepped forward, placing a calming hand on Crix's arm. He could feel the tension crackling between the aliens and the humans, threatening to explode into something ugly. "Let's all take a moment," Xyloth said smoothly. "I'm sure this was just a misunderstanding. Perhaps we could learn more about these dogs from our human friends here." The man smiled gratefully at Xyloth. "Of course, we'd be happy to introduce you. Max here is a golden retriever. They're known for being friendly and great with kids." Crix scoffed and turned away, marching back toward their ship. Some of the other aliens followed, muttering darkly, but Xyloth lingered, intrigued by the dog and the human's words. "Thank you for your understanding," Xyloth said to the man. "I apologize for my colleagues' reactions. We are unfamiliar with Earth's creatures and customs." The man nodded, patting Max's head. "No worries. It takes time to learn about a new place and its inhabitants. But I promise, once you get to know dogs, you'll see how special they are." Xyloth glanced at Max, who gazed back at him with warm, intelligent eyes. A thought began to form in his mind, a crazy, impulsive idea that went against everything the Galactic Federation stood for. But as he watched the human family walk away with their beloved pet, Xyloth couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to these creatures, and to humanity, than met the eye. And he was determined to find out what it was, even if it meant defying his own people. For Xyloth had glimpsed a spark of something extraordinary in that brief encounter, a connection that transcended species and worlds. And he knew that if he could just understand it better, it might hold the key to bridging the gap between humans and aliens once and for all. Confrontation and confusion. Back at the spaceship, tempers flared as the aliens argued about the encounter with Max. Crix paced angrily, his face twisted with disgust. "That beast is a menace," he spat. "It could have torn us apart. We should demand that the humans destroy it immediately." Other aliens murmured in agreement, their fear and confusion morphing into hostility. But Xyloth stepped forward, his expression calm but determined. "No," he said firmly. "We cannot judge an entire species based on one misunderstanding. The humans clearly value these creatures as companions, not threats." Crix rounded on Xyloth, eyes narrowing. "You would defend those primitives and their vicious animals. Have you forgotten our mission? To assess humanity's readiness to join us, not coddle their backward ways." Xyloth met Crix's gaze steadily. "Our mission is to seek understanding, not impose our will. If we reject the humans' bond with their pets outright, we risk alienating them entirely." As the aliens continued to argue, a commotion outside drew their attention. They turned to see the human family from before approaching the ship, Max trotting happily at their side. Crix reached for his weapon, but Xyloth put out a hand to stop him. "Let me handle this," he said quietly. He exited the ship and walked toward the humans, trying to project an air of calm authority. The man who had spoken to them earlier stepped forward, looking apologetic. "We wanted to come and apologize again for the confusion earlier," he said, "and to see if there's anything we can do to help you understand dogs better." Xyloth glanced back at the ship, where Crix and the others watched warily. He knew his next words could make or break the fragile peace between their species. "We would be grateful for any insight you could provide," Xyloth said carefully. "But I must warn you, some of my colleagues are still wary of your pet. They may need time to adjust to the idea of dogs as companions rather than threats." The man nodded, his expression serious. "I understand. But please, let us show you that dogs are loyal, loving creatures. They've been by our side for thousands of years, helping and protecting us." Crix scoffed loudly from the ship's entrance. "Protect you? From what? Your own primitive instincts." The man's wife, who had been standing quietly until now, spoke up. "Actually, dogs have served in our military and police forces for generations. They've saved countless lives and brought comfort to those who needed it most." Xyloth's curiosity piqued at this new information. He turned to the woman, eager to learn more. "Could you tell us about these service dogs? How do they aid your people?" As the woman began to explain, Crix and the other aliens listened with growing interest. They learned about dogs who sniffed out bombs and drugs, who guided the blind, and calmed the anxious. They heard stories of dogs who had laid down their lives to protect their human partners, and who had brought joy and companionship to the lonely and ill. Slowly, the aliens' hostility began to fade, replaced by a grudging respect. Even Crix looked thoughtful, his earlier anger dissipating. Xyloth turned to the man, a new understanding dawning in his eyes. "I see now why your people value dogs so highly," he said. "They are more than just pets. They are partners and friends." The man smiled, relief and gratitude evident on his face. "Exactly. And if you'll allow us, we'd be honored to introduce you to more of our canine companions, to show you the true nature of the bond between humans and dogs." Xyloth glanced at his colleagues, seeing the flicker of interest in their eyes. He knew that this was a crucial moment, a chance to build a bridge between their worlds. And so, with a nod and a smile, he accepted the man's offer. "We would be delighted to learn more. Please, lead the way." As the aliens followed the human family down the street, Max trotting happily alongside them, Xyloth felt a surge of hope. Perhaps this was the key to understanding humanity, not just observing them from afar, but immersing themselves in their lives and loves. For in the wagging tail and bright eyes of a simple dog, Xyloth had glimpsed the depth of the human spirit. And he knew that if they could just learn to see through each other's eyes, anything was possible. Xyloth's plan. Over the next few days, Xyloth spent much of his time with the human family, observing and interacting with Max. He watched as the dog played fetch with the children, cuddled with the adults during quiet moments, and stood guard over the house at night. Xyloth was amazed by the depth of the bond between Max and his humans. The dogs seemed attuned to their every mood and need, offering comfort and companionship without hesitation. And the humans, in turn, treated Max with a level of love and respect that Xyloth had never seen before. As he spent more time with the family, Xyloth began to see dogs in a new light. He realized that they were not just mindless beasts, but intelligent, emotional creatures with a unique role in human society. One evening, as he sat watching Max play with the children in the backyard, Xyloth had an epiphany. If he could just show his fellow aliens the true nature of the human-dog bond, perhaps they would see humanity in a different light as well. He approached the parents, his voice low and urgent. "I have an idea," he said. "A way to bridge the gap between our species and show my people the true potential of humanity." The parents exchanged a curious glance. "What did you have in mind?" the father asked. Xyloth took a deep breath, knowing his next words would change the course of his mission, and possibly the fate of both their worlds. "I want to stay here with you," he said, "to live among humans and study your relationship with dogs firsthand. I believe that if I can understand this bond, I can help my people see the beauty and complexity of your species." The parents looked stunned. They glanced at each other, then back at Xyloth. "Are you sure?" the mother asked. "What about your mission, your colleagues?" Xyloth nodded firmly. "My mission is to seek understanding and build bridges between our worlds, and I believe that this is the way to do it, by immersing myself in your lives and learning from you directly." The father's face split into a wide grin. "Well, then, welcome to the family. We'd be honored to have you stay with us." And so, with a mixture of excitement and trepidation, Xyloth embarked on a new chapter in his journey. He moved into the family's guest room, joining them for meals and outings and spending long hours observing and interacting with Max. At first, some of the other aliens were skeptical of Xyloth's plan. Crix, in particular, scoffed at the idea of living with primitives and their filthy beasts. But as Xyloth sent back regular reports detailing his observations and insights, even the most hardened skeptics began to take notice. Through Xyloth's eyes, they saw Max's intelligence and empathy, his unwavering loyalty and courage. They learned about the dog's keen sense of smell, which allowed him to detect everything from hidden treats to dangerous substances, and they marveled at the way Max seemed to understand and respond to human emotions, offering comfort and support in times of need. Slowly but surely, the aliens' perception of dogs and of humanity began to shift. They saw that these creatures were not just mindless animals, but complex beings with a vital role in human society. And as Xyloth delved deeper into the human-dog bond, he found himself changed as well. He began to see the world through Max's eyes, a world of simple joys and unconditional love, of courage in the face of fear and compassion for those in need. He knew that he had found something special here, something that could transform not just his own understanding, but the very fabric of the universe itself, and he was determined to share that discovery with his people, no matter the cost. Little did Xyloth know that his newfound knowledge would soon be put to the ultimate test, a test that would require all of his skill, courage, and compassion to survive. For even as he basked in the warmth of his new family and the love of a loyal dog, dark forces were gathering on the horizon. But for now, Xyloth simply reveled in the joy of discovery and the hope of a brighter future for all. Disaster strikes. Weeks passed, and Xyloth grew more and more comfortable in his new life among humans. He accompanied the family on outings to the park, joined in games of fetch with Max, and even learned to enjoy the strange human delicacy known as pizza. But just as Xyloth was beginning to feel truly at home, disaster struck. It began with a low rumble, a deep, ominous sound that seemed to come from the very bowels of the earth. The house shuddered and groaned, pictures tumbling from the walls and dishes clattering in the cabinets. Xyloth stumbled to his feet, his heart racing with fear. He had experienced many dangers in his travels across the galaxy, but nothing like this. The ground beneath him heaved and buckled, sending him sprawling to the floor. Through the chaos, He heard the family shouting, their voices high and panicked. "Earthquake!" the father yelled. "Everyone, get to safety." Xyloth tried to stand, but another violent tremor sent him crashing back down. He heard a sickening crack and felt a sharp pain lance through his leg. He looked down to see his ankle twisted at an unnatural angle, trapped beneath a fallen bookshelf. Xyloth cried out in pain and fear, his mind reeling. He was alone, injured, and helpless, a far cry from the confident alien explorer he had once been. As the house continued to shake and crumble around him, Xyloth closed his eyes and waited for the end. He thought of his mission, of the bridges he had tried to build between his people and the humans. He thought of the family who had taken him in, and of Max, the loyal dog who had shown him the true depths of the human-animal bond. And then, through the dust and debris, he heard a sound that made his heart leap with hope. It was a bark, deep, powerful, and determined. Max's bark. The dog burst into the room, his fur matted with dust, and his eyes wide with fear. But when he saw Xyloth trapped and injured, his demeanor changed. He became calm, focused, and purposeful. Max picked his way through the rubble, his nose twitching as he searched for a way to reach Xyloth. And then, with a mighty heave, he began to dig, his paws scrabbling at the debris that pinned Xyloth down. Inch by inch, Max cleared the rubble away, his muscles straining with the effort. And as he worked, Xyloth felt a surge of emotions: fear, pain, and a desperate, aching hope. Finally, with a triumphant bark, Max broke through the last of the debris and reached Xyloth's side. He nuzzled the alien's face, his warm breath and soft fur a balm to Xyloth's battered body and spirit. Xyloth reached out a trembling hand and buried his fingers in Max's fur. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice choked with tears. "You saved my life." Max licked Xyloth's face, his tail wagging gently. And in that moment, Xyloth knew that he had been wrong about so many things. Wrong about dogs, wrong about humans, wrong about the very nature of the universe itself. For here, in the midst of chaos and destruction, he had found something more precious than any technology or advancement his people had ever created. He had found love, pure, unconditional, and unbreakable. With Max's help, Xyloth managed to drag himself out of the ruined house and into the street. There, he found the family huddled together, battered but alive. They embraced him, tears streaming down their faces as they thanked Max for his bravery and Xyloth for his friendship. As emergency responders arrived on the scene, Xyloth knew that his mission had changed forever. He no longer cared about assessing humanity's worthiness to join the Galactic Federation. He cared only about sharing the truth he had learned, the truth of the unbreakable bond between humans and their animal companions. And as he looked at Max, his loyal friend and savior, Xyloth knew that he would spend the rest of his life fighting to protect and preserve that bond, no matter the cost. A new understanding. In the aftermath of the earthquake, Xyloth and the family worked together to rebuild their shattered lives. They cleared debris, salvaged belongings, and leaned on each other for support and comfort. Through it all, Max was a constant presence, a source of strength and joy in the midst of the chaos. He comforted the children when they cried, stood guard over the house at night, and even helped dig through the rubble in search of buried treasures. As the weeks passed and life began to return to normal, Xyloth knew that it was time to share his newfound knowledge with his people. He contacted his fellow aliens and arranged a meeting, his heart pounding with nerves and excitement. When the day of the meeting arrived, Xyloth stood before his colleagues, Max by his side. He took a deep breath and began to speak, his voice trembling with emotion. "My friends," he said, "I have spent these past months living among the humans, studying their bond with a creature known as a dog, and what I have learned has changed me forever." He told them of Max's bravery and loyalty, of the way the dog had risked his life to save Xyloth from the rubble. He spoke of the love and compassion he had witnessed between humans and their animal companions, a bond that transcended species and defied explanation. "These creatures are not just mindless beasts," Xyloth said, his voice rising with conviction. "They are intelligent, emotional beings with a vital role in human society. They serve as protectors, healers, and friends, offering unconditional love and support in times of need." As Xyloth spoke, he saw the expressions on his colleagues' faces begin to change. Skepticism gave way to curiosity, hostility to understanding. Even Crix, the most hardened of the aliens, looked thoughtful and contemplative. When Xyloth finished speaking, there was a long moment of silence. Then, slowly, one by one, the aliens began to nod their heads in agreement. "I see now that we were wrong about dogs, and about humans," Crix said, his voice gruff but sincere. "They are not primitives or savages, but complex beings with a deep capacity for love and empathy." The other aliens murmured their assent, and Xyloth felt a surge of relief and pride. He had done it. He had bridged the gap between their worlds and shown his people the true potential of humanity. In the days that followed, Xyloth worked with his colleagues to draft a new treaty, one that recognized the value of the human-animal bond and pledged to protect and preserve it. They presented the treaty to Earth's leaders, who welcomed it with open arms and gratitude. And so, with a simple act of compassion and understanding, Xyloth had changed the course of history. He had shown that even the most different of beings could find common ground, and that the power of love could transcend any barrier. As Xyloth prepared to return to his own world, he knew that he would carry the lessons he had learned with him forever. He would never forget the family who had taken him in, or the loyal dog who had saved his life. And he knew that wherever he went, he would always work to spread the message of compassion and understanding, to build bridges instead of walls, and to find the common threads that bound all beings together. For in the end, Xyloth had discovered the greatest truth of all, that love was the most powerful force in the universe, and that it had the power to change everything.